So you can see this leather is somewhat damaged. This is characteristic of Porsche seat. This is fixable. So this is just the top coat on the leather. You can see there's a little bit of water damage here too. That's top coat that's coming off. So again, that's actual top coat, you can see. So this, again, characteristic, but is fixable. So what are we going to do here? We're going to use some deglazer. This is going to take the coating off. It's important to be super careful with this because you can take too much off and you can also fill the holes. So go slow and slowly take this down. Then we'll be sanding and prepping. But I'll come back after I've done some of the deglazing and show you what that looks like. All right, so we've sanded with, is it like 1,000? I think it's 1,000. Yeah, 1,000. You want to use a foam-backed pad. And I've sanded, you can usually see the leather is starting to respond. You don't want to go too far, so there's just enough. You can see some of the areas where I had rings, I've started to take all the dye off. Our goal is to smooth this over, not remove all the dye. So you can see we're starting to get some smoothing over here, a little bit more to do here. Then what we're going to do is we're going to use a vacuum to make sure we get the sanding material out of these holes. And then we'll use some prep, but I'll come back to you after we finished it. We'll do 1,000, 1,500, and then 2,000, and then we'll be ready to dye. Okay, so this is after using sandpaper, a vacuum, both a blower and a vacuum, and then SEM Prep. So give you kind of a sense of what it's going to look like. Goal here is for it to be smooth, not to look perfect, but I've still got a couple areas that need attention. So this is all smooth here, and it's important to tap as you vacuum to get the dye out of the holes. Otherwise, if there's debris in the holes, the dye will stick to it and it'll fill the holes in very quickly. You might still need to come back, but look, you can see I still have some areas of attention right in here. This was the worst spot. So we're going to see if we can maybe use a little more deglazer and a little bit more of the sandpaper. But you can see also here, remember where the dye was puckering up and it had that weird textured look? I've stripped all that off. So we're fine there. You can see I have a little bit more to do here too. So just spend time prepping and it will help a ton. This is after using SEM Prep, plastic and leather prep. Goal here is to remove oils. We're now going to use color match dye and a foam applicator. The idea here is to dab and do multiple coats. So I'll show you after one coat what it looks like. So you can see it's still wet, it's drying. You can see the first coat, it's making a difference, but I've still got some areas that aren't perfect. Again, we're looking for pretty good, not perfection. If you wanted perfection, you'd recover the seats, but we're going to make a nice difference in this seat. Okay, so we're still drying. You can see we're making good progress, but there's still a little bit of dye that needs to get added in here in the middle. And along here. You can kind of see my spots where I need dye, and I need to decide what I'm doing with the stitching. I'm going to go up to the stitching and top coat it later, or what we're going to do. But we're making progress here. You can see we're filling in. It's starting to look good again. We got a little bit of work to do in the middle. So you can see the dye is really starting to take now, and it's looking a lot more even. It's actually helpful to look at this through a phone so you can get a sense of where your spots are. But I'm pretty happy with this. I think we'll do one more coat. It's important to not over dye. So we'll do one more coat, and then I think we'll call this good. This is the final coating. You can see the dye is drying. It'll look uneven when it's drying, but it's fine. And we've dabbed. You want to create some texture. You don't want to just drag it across. This leather has some texture. We'll come back and show what this looks like when it's done, but you can get a sense of where we're at. We filled in a little hole there. That's going to dry. I know it doesn't look like it, but it will. All right, so this is the result. It's not perfect, but it is pretty huge improvement from what we had before. And you can see here as I zoom out, it looks pretty darn good. You will see that there's a little bit of difference in the sheen, and that's because this is a matte dye, and I do have a glossier top coat that is coming. But so you can kind of see what we ended up with here, and it looks pretty good. Again, comparing what we had before, we're in pretty good shape. So this is with top coat. You can see I've used the dabbing texture or dab with a foam brush. And you'll see that after it dries, it will look pretty good. And it will look even better once you put some leather protector cream. I like to stay with the same brand of products for dye, top coat, and cream.